So yeah, welcome to today's session. Today's session is on designing reality with ARKit. So if you don't know, ARKit is Apple's framework for designing augmented reality apps. It's really, really cool, really powerful, and that's why we're covering it today. And of course, happy Black History Month. Today's the last day. So of course I had to knock out this meetup before we rounded off the month. So again, thank you for joining today's event. As always, this is a free event. We're going to cover basically just what exactly is ARKit, why it's useful, why you should be learning it, and then we'll dive in and create our first little demo app. Nothing too complicated, not too much code. Really, this is just designed to be a beginner's basic course. Again, it's the beginning of the year, so as we progress through the rest of the year, we'll definitely create more and more complex applications. But again, thank you for joining this one. I think you're going to learn a lot. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Casey Pollock. The name of my company is Near Future Marketing, and we actually incorporated last week, so we're now Near Future Marketing Inc. And the name of this meetup is AR Today. So again, it's a free meetup. I started it on my birthday 2, maybe even almost 3 years ago now. But we used to be an in-person meetup, and now we're hosting everything online, which allows us to reach more people than ever. And of course, now all of our sessions are also recorded. So it's really cool because if you're missing this live, you can probably watch it on YouTube. So let's go to our next slide here. And so AR, augmented reality, that's going to be any form of digital content overlaid in the real world, and usually with a live camera. So here you can see my iPad. And what I did is I created the AR Today logo. I had it created in 3D, and then I just mapped that to the real world. So you can see that's the most basic example of AR. We have a 3D model that looks like it's really in the real world. And even better, you can walk up close to it. You can walk through it. So this is some really high quality, cool stuff. And this is also known as a video game, or the point of view is your phone's camera. So if you ever wondered, how does AR work? How are we seeing all of this? How is this so cool? Basically, it's just a video game mapped to the real world. So it's a video game and you're in control of the camera. And hopefully my fans aren't too loud. I can always switch to a headset, but these fans just kicked on, so we'll hope they could turn off. But with AR, what's really cool about AR is it's not one of those things where it's only affecting one industry and it's like, oh, cool, it's a video game. We can make some games and maybe make some money from that. This is a type of technology that really works for anybody in any industry. So you can see we have agriculture, we have construction, we have gaming, we have navigation, astronomy, health. Any industry that's out there definitely can be improved by AR. And that's because, again, this is something that you're looking at. It's interacting with the real world. It's mapped to the real world. It's responding to objects and images in the real world. And there's just so much you can do when you combine digital with real data. Oh, and then this one's a really cool announcement. I didn't even go over these slides, so I'm not even sure what's coming up next. But for those of you who don't know, I actually just wrapped up the reason. So if you were at the last meetup, I announced that I was actually selected for Apple's Entrepreneur Camp for Black Founders. That was quite a few weeks ago. The actual Entrepreneur Camp just wrapped up here on Thursday. It was really fun, really exciting experience. I learned a lot, I created a lot, I designed a lot, but basically I had 2 weeks working one-on-one with Apple. Really just blessed opportunity there. I can't even underline how amazing it was. But basically we got to work directly with their designers, we got to work directly with their engineers, and get any question we needed answered, and they helped us directly work on our apps, and a lot of other cool benefits. But I just definitely wanted to put this slide up here to let you guys know that Hologarden is in the works. It's better than ever, and it's coming soon by the end of spring. So I'll do a live demo today. And so yeah, back on that Entrepreneur Camp. So this is what my app looked like before I went through the camp, which I thought was a great design. You know, lots going on here, machine learning, augmented reality, lots of little buttons and stuff. But as I went through the camp, I found out it wasn't the best design. Again, talking to Apple designers directly, it's a little bit different because they have really good points about why it's a bad design. So this really helped me a lot, actually. And so now you can see the after is right here, which again, this app is still in the works, but you can see we have a full UI there. And then now we have a tab view, they call it. So this just allows us to switch between a view that is, specific to AR or not. So again, Hologarden, upcoming app. I'll do a demo today, but just really, really cool stuff that came out of that entrepreneur camp from working with Apple for 2 weeks. And I still have a year of support for them. So I'm really, really excited to see where all of this goes. But definitely, with you being a part of the meetup, you're going to get a lot of great tips from me as I get more and more great tips from them. So again, thank you for joining this meetup, and I'm excited for you to be a part of this community for the rest of the year and forever after that. And then cool, this brings us to my favorite slide, which I always put in every single meetup, but it's again just a great way to sum up the augmented reality capable devices, as I call them. So this chart is basically showing you every type of AR device you can have and all the qualities that make that device an AR device. And as we move through this chart, so as we start from the bottom and move up to the top, you'll notice that basically everything on the bottom is included in the items at the top. So at the very, very bottom, we have that pepper ghost effect. This is where you go to a concert and you can see some type of dead performer performing live at that concert. This is basically a projector shooting at a specialized kind of translucent film. Think of like a see-through mirror. And so with that projector projecting that image on that mirror, for the crowd, it looks like that person is really there. It looks like they're really performing on stage. And it's a really cool effect. But there's not too much work that goes into this. I mean, there is, but it's when you compare it to the things that are up top, it's not really that hard. So this is the most basic form of AR. It was invented in 1860s, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but it's really, really old, most basic form. From there, we have older phones. This is where we get like the QR codes and the image tracking and just 3 degrees of freedom tracking. So this is that ability to, again, move all around that object, look all around that object, but you won't be able to actually move closer or further away. You can just be close enough to detect it. And then as you see in this image, rotate that image around. And again, hopefully you guys can hear me well. These fans sound kind of loud today, but we'll keep going. But if you have any questions, please feel free to type those questions in the chat. If the fans are way too loud and you can't hear me, please go ahead and type that in the chat, and we will continue on and fix that. So next up, we have our flagship phones. This would be like your most current iPhone, your most current Android phone. But this is where you get things like energy efficient machine learning, 6 degrees of freedom tracking, advanced graphics, and object recognition. So what does all of that mean for a normal person? Let's start at the top left there. So energy efficient machine learning. This is the ability for your device to use machine learning or artificial intelligence to really, there's a lot of things you can do with AI, but basically not burn your battery while doing it. That's kind of the key there, is that for once, we're in that part of the future now where our devices can do really, really smart things and make millions and trillions of calculations, but we can still have a battery that lasts us the entire day. So that's what that means. 6-DoF tracking, or 6 degrees of freedom. That's the ability to actually move around the object as well as to and from the object. So you could think, just as something is in real life, I could move closer or farther away from the camera, and I can move left or right, and the camera can also look around me as well. So that's what 6 degrees of freedom tracking is. Advanced graphics, pretty self-explanatory, but these are just, again, those advanced video game graphics that allow us to render 3D objects in a way that looks realistic. So we have shadows, we have lighting, so many cool things come from the ability to have a integrated graphics card, basically. And then object recognition, this is the ability for your device to take advantage of that energy efficient machine learning and then basically recognize a room or an object again. So think, let's say you play a game of tic-tac-toe in augmented reality and it's here on your desk and you start and then dinner time, grocery time, something, I gotta go. You hit save on your desk, you hit save, you walk away, and maybe 2 days later you come back, you point at your desk, you hit load, and your tic-tac-toe game loads perfectly exactly where it was, and all the pieces are exactly where they were. That's object recognition, and that's something that is easily possible with ARKit. Not every framework out there, but definitely ARKit for iPhone and iOS allows that, and it's a really, really, I think, key feature that is good to have. You know, it's not something that we necessarily need for every app, but the fact that we can do it is what I think outlines these specific devices. And then last but not least, we have our smart glasses. So these are already out there in the wild. There are already quite a few different headsets that do augmented reality, but there are not too many that do them well, I'll say. So the items I have listed here, you would imagine that the perfect set of smart glasses would have everything in this box and everything below it. So, you know, energy efficient machine learning, advanced graphics, 6 degrees of freedom, QR codes. But for smart glasses, I think it's especially important that they have eye tracking. So that ability to know where the user is looking. It's one thing to track your head and to know where what they call gaze is pointing at, but it's a completely different thing. And there's just way more data and way, you know, cooler things that you can do when you have eye tracking. So that ability to, again, look left, look right, you know, where on the screen is the user looking? There's so much you can do with that, and that's why I think it's really key that the best pair of smart glasses have that technology. At the moment, I believe only the HoloLens 2 has eye tracking. I could be wrong, but we'll say that they are definitely doing it very well. So you actually have the ability to log into your device based on your retina. So it scans your eye and it says, oh, that's definitely Casey. You can log him in, and if it's not Casey, then we'll present a pin, and that person who's not Casey can try to guess his pin. Voice recognition. So this is just, again, goes back to like think Siri, think Alexa, Sally, but just those voice assistants that we have that ability to say, hey Siri, can you do this for me? That is really key, and that wasn't a great idea. Just turned on all the Siris on all my devices here. But basically, that is really, really key for smart glasses, I think, because that ability to use your hands, to have your hands free and to have things in your hands is great. And, you know, if we're going to give the user that ability, we should also give them the ability to do things without their hands. So voice recognition, super, super key, I think, to the best pair of smart glasses. Hand recognition as well. So you can see in our animation here, this GIF, we have the user pulling in the email, scrolling through, and then swiping it away. And again, I think hand recognition, hand interaction is something that's really, really required for a great pair of smart glasses. So that's why these have stars here. These are the things that I feel like are just very key. And if it doesn't have those things, I'm not really that interested. Near eye display. So of course it needs to have a display that works near your eyes and doesn't, you know, burn your eyes out. So very, very key that we have some type of near eye display that is working well for the human eye. Fashionable. This is another huge point that I think people forget, and they get very hyped up about the latest and greatest AR headset that comes out in the news, at least. And so I think it's really key that, you know, if you're looking at some of these devices, sure, it's great. Sure, they have lots of cool technology. Maybe they had a cool tech demo that really sold you on it. But think back, is this fashionable? I think for smart glasses to really catch on, there needs to be a device that your grandparents will wear. So to me, you know, if your grandparents aren't willing to wear that, if they feel like they would look silly wearing this device, it's probably never going to catch on for most normal people. And that's where, you know, as a developer, you will invest lots of time and money into creating your application. So definitely, I would say don't work on apps for devices that aren't going to be popular. Let's just leave it at that. You know, we don't need to speculate. We don't need to use rumors. We don't need to do anything like that. Just focus on the very core of, will this product sell millions of units, not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but really millions. And maybe let's scale that back, maybe hundreds of thousands. But, you know, ideally we want that device that's going to sell millions and, you know, just be the next great thing. And then untethered. So again, there's many headsets out there, but not all of them are wireless. So for the best pair of smart glasses, I think it needs to be something that's not hooked up to anything and allows us to walk around. All right, and so I'm going to pop in my AirPods really quickly here. I've never tried this. Sound a little loud to me, so we're going to switch to my AirPods. Let's try. Check the chat here to see if there's any questions. We have 3. One of the meetups has the wrong Teams page login. That sucks. I do apologize for that. Pepper's Ghost, perfect. Someone popped that link in there. Thank you for that. And recording this session for watching later. Yes, all of our sessions are recorded. So if you miss anything, you can definitely find this video on YouTube. And if you don't want to look through YouTube, you can actually find it directly on my website, which I will teach you by the end of this presentation. So let's hop back in where we left off. I actually don't think I'm using my AirPods yet. So let's, one moment here. I know this is a little disorienting, but I'd rather you guys have good audio. All right. So yeah, you should be able to hear me a little bit better now. And so really quickly, these were just some points about AR and what it does for businesses. And, you know, as a developer, when you're thinking about creating an app, these are some of the things that you should really keep in mind because I think they're really, really key. So real-time dependent, AR really depends on what you're looking at. So I think that's something that people forget. They get so roped into how cool things look and, you know, all the possibilities that you have to remember that this technology is fundamentally grounded in the real world. And that's kind of the hard part is, you know, we're designing an app for someone to use and we don't know where they're going to use it. So they might open your app in a bus or a train or a plane or in their bedroom or in the bathroom. There's so many scenarios where they could open your app. And again, it's real-time dependent. So maybe their bathroom's not big enough for what you designed. So just, again, something important to think about. Obviously, there's a balance with all of these attributes as you create each app, but that's definitely something to keep top of mind. Infinite screen space. So again, while things are limited to the physical world as far as where we're putting them, we do have infinite screen space, meaning, you know, if you decide to put a 3D pterodactyl or T-Rex a mile away, you know, you have that space. You don't have like a limit as to how big things can be, but definitely your user can only fit big content in, you know, so they only have so much space in real life. Let's leave it at that. Cost reduction. So usually if you're making something in AR and it's, you know, modeling something from real life, definitely there's a cost reduction to that. So think, again, large scale buildings. It costs so much money to build a skyscraper, but if you have that 3D model, if you have that architectural plan, you could definitely build that out in AR and view that in the building site exactly where it's supposed to be, you know, one-to-one scale without spending more than $100 for, let's say, an artist. You know, or if you're self-taught, then you can do everything yourself. But again, it's just that cost reduction. Imagine like cars, you know, looking at a Tesla in black and then looking at it in red and looking at it in silver and green and this and that. This is something that would be really, really expensive to do in a car lot because you need to have all of those cars right there. But with AR, again, we have that Tesla model, and then we can use code to just change the color and say, oh, now it's red, now it's rainbow. It doesn't really matter because, again, we have complete control of what the user is seeing. And that goes right into my next point of visual communication. It's super key that you are communicating not just on the screen and through, you know, your iconography and everything else, but just that visual aspect. Sometimes you need to physically show the user, hey, if you want to rotate something, swipe like this, or like move closer like this. So again, there's lots of visual communication, I think, that goes with AR. And it's just, again, these are just important points to think about. And then, whoops, missed one, but effortless navigation. So this is just something that AR can help with, is the fact that it really ties in with visual communication, but pointing out directions spatially, especially, is a lot easier in AR. Cool. And so this brings me to Hologarden. So again, this session is about designing reality with ARKit. And so before you actually design your app and learn how to code or any of that, let's pretend you have no idea how to code, how to get started with anything, you've never done anything with a computer, this is what I would recommend. It's called Adobe Xd. And so they do have a free plan as well. I'm not too sure because I do pay for all of this stuff. So I have Photoshop and Adobe Xd and everything else. But with Adobe Xd specifically, I'm pretty sure it's free to an extent. I don't know what that extent is exactly, but I highly recommend checking out this app because it allows you to create mock-ups really, really easily. So you can see this is actually what I created when I was working with Apple. I created this so that I could pass this along to the designers and say, hey, do you guys think this is a great idea for a new design? Here's what I think it should look like when we add a new garden. Here's what I think it should look like when we're tracking the sun or when we're switching the tools. And they were able to rip this design to shreds. And I actually did make some more adjustments from here. But again, it's just the point that this was in Adobe XD. I didn't use any code. I didn't really use Photoshop or anything. It really is, you just draw shapes and you fill in those shapes with colors and images. And it's really, really easy to get started, really easy to get learning. So maybe I'll do a lesson on Adobe XD one day specifically. But for sure, I wanted to point out that when you're getting started with AR or really any app, Adobe XD is a great tool to use because a lot of you may not know how to code, and there's nothing wrong with that. I didn't know how to code at one point, but definitely all of us can sketch a picture and then take that sketch, look at this Adobe XD, and recreate a higher quality version of that sketch. And that's all I did here. So, it looks really nice here, but I promise you, this did not take a lot of time to create, and it's because of Adobe XD. And again, this is just a great reference point to have when you actually are coding and actually are building out your app. And so energy efficient machine learning, we talked about this earlier, but this is the underlying foundation of all augmented reality applications. So what does that mean? It means that we have an AI that's trained to recognize points of interest in every single frame it's fed. So as we're rotating around the table, as this person's walking around the table here, you can see that these yellow dots are popping up. And that's just basically the computer recognizing and say, oh, that's a point of interest. That's a point on an object. Let's record that. Let's record that. Let's record that. And as we record more and more data, basically, we know exactly where the table was, exactly where the chair was, exactly where the tree was. And we have that mapped out into our game engine. And from there, we can take advantage of this new information. So I think it sounds complicated, but honestly, just think of it as an AI that is simulating a laser point and scanning the world with that simulated laser point. So it's just really good at simulating a laser. Obviously, on the newer iPhones and iPads, we actually have that laser now. But before the laser existed, that's basically what it was doing, is it was estimating where the laser would have hit the object. So very, very cool stuff. But that's basically, once we know where everything in the world is, then we can overlay our digital content and make it look like it's really there. And this is the same stuff that powers LiDAR. So when you think about self-driving cars, they are really the close cousin of AR. They're all using the same technology. And basically, that's how LiDAR and self-driving cars work, is it's scanning the world with a laser, and it keeps a record of where everything is. And once it confirms where everything is, it starts to move forward. And, again, it's just, the proof is in the pudding. These things wouldn't be on the street if this technology wasn't reliable enough. So it's out there. And of course, smaller energy efficient chips, again, all making this possible. And so when we look at what AR is, again, it's very informative. You could think about being in a museum or an airport. Definitely a lot more informative than looking at a traditional website or a traditional map. It's very powerful. So again, we have access to a full game engine, and we have access to custom artificial intelligence models. So when you combine these things, especially, you get that bottom shot there that's called Home Court, and that's an app that basically tracks your basketball skills. It's tracking how many shots you missed, how many shots you made, what was the ball's trajectory, what was your pose. Everything is all recorded because, again, we have that live camera feed, and we have those AIs that we've trained that are then picking up this information and building an app out of it, basically. At the top, we have that multiplayer compatibility. So again, this is local multiplayer, real-time, Bluetooth. It's all super powerful, and working with an iPhone or an iPad ARKit, it's a lot easier to do than it would have been 2, 3, even 1 year ago with any other framework. And a paradigm shift, I always talk about this because, I have been immersed in this stuff for, 4 or 5 years now. It's hard to think about that way, but really, I've been chasing this AR dream for 4 or 5 years, and I've really been immersed in this technology. So I've already seen the paradigm shift, but most consumers have not. They have no idea what's about to come, and it's really going to blow their minds. And so this is what I'm talking about. We have, doctors prepping, they're, preparing by just playing with the 3D model of a person and ripping that person open. Imagine if your doctor had a 3D scan of you, and they could practice their surgery on you before they actually work on you. And I don't mean like practice a surgery on a dummy. I mean, practice a surgery on a 3D model of you with whatever's going wrong with you. That's very, very powerful. And I'm sure there's going to be huge changes to healthcare with technology like that. And same thing for artwork or sports and entertainment. Imagine if you could just use your hands to work on art. Right now we're using mouse and keys and pointers and pencils, but imagine if you could literally curve an object with the curve of your hand. So exciting, exciting things. And infinite screen space, as I mentioned. So again, we don't have to settle for a 24-inch screen TV in AR. You could definitely stretch it to 56 or 1,000 inches if you really need it to. And again, this was about the entrepreneur camp. I'm telling you that I got in. I guess I forgot to delete this slide, but yeah, I got in. So there you go. But this just brings me back to my point. iOS is really delivering the best experience. It's recording the highest quality data, and it's reaching the largest amount of customers. And that last point, I think, is the most important point, because the other things are subjective. Some people may say, oh, Android gives me a better experience, or HoloLens gives me a better experience, or whoever gives me a better experience. And some people may say, oh, the data that I get from this sensor combined with this sensor is a lot better than what you can get from an iPhone. That's great and all, but what it boils down to at the end of the day as a developer is how many consumers can you reach? How many people can you get to download your app? And I think that's the key point into why I've been so successful with ARKit, and why I really preach the workings and foundations and just, ARKit, guys. It's really, really strong. And you can't beat the fact that there are hundreds of millions of compatible devices, many of which already have auto update turned on. I think that's very key, because with Android devices, they may have some of this functionality that we're going to talk about today, but not everybody has their phone updated. Not everybody has the latest version of Android. And from there, many of them are not automatically updating or not automatically compatible. It's a mess. It's very, very fragmented. It's what it's called, basically. And the adoption rate in iOS is a lot higher. It's 80+%, meaning that, as iOS, let's say 15 comes out, 80% of the people who are using 80% of people will be using iOS 15, within a short amount of time. So this is really good for us as developers, because it means as new technologies come out, we get to use those technologies, almost immediately, and have our, many, many customers using it and not really waiting for that adoption as long. So great place to work. And when you look at what we can do with this stuff, or what's, really the best thing to do with AR, there's so many things, but I just wanted to pop some ideas in your head here. So we have product-based marketing. I think what I'm trying to say here really is anything you've seen done with any other technology, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, HoloLens, everything else, it's all possible with ARKit with a mobile device. And that just brings us back to this point. Like, these are all Instagram filters. None of this was rendered with ARKit, but I can guarantee you that everything you're seeing here can be created with ARKit. So again, no point in finding very, very specific examples, because again, everything we're looking at here, whether it's on a different device or not, can be replicated with ARKit, because it's just a very powerful framework. And of course, you have access to many other frameworks. So again, we have a game here where he's playing with his head, and collecting points by catching the Adidas. We have a filter for a hockey team. We have a team working on a motorcycle here. We have a scientist who's just quickly locating, samples and seeing their status based on QR codes. I mean, all of these things that you're seeing are possible with ARKit. And, it just really, I can't demonstrate everything you can do with ARKit because you can do anything. So again, I hope I'm not, overhyping it here, but I just really want to drive that this stuff is really cool and it's, accessible to you today. You don't have to pay. You can start using this right now. And then, training and simulation. So this is just, again, my last point that all of these things can be done with ARKit. All right, so next we're gonna hop into my live demo of Hologarden. We'll check the chat. So let's give me 1 second here. Close that. And we'll hook up my iPhone. While I hook this up, check out my new sweatshirt. It's in the swag shop. So definitely check that out because I like it. It's really cozy. It's really cool. But yeah, thank you for joining the presentation, sitting through that. It was kind of a long one. Let's check the chat super quick for any questions. Are we on the right slide? Okay, things were a little behind. I do apologize for that. I know sometimes what you guys see may not be exactly what I see. So let's dismiss this and we'll actually restore this, guys, and publish that. All right, so next I'm going to give you a quick live demo of Hologarden. Hopefully this goes well. Let's see here. Just going to do a, whoops. And again, any questions, feel free to type them in, but let's go ahead and try this out. All right, so we'll hook up to Casey's iPhone. And perfect. All right, so everyone should be able to see my screen now. Let's begin. Put my window down to make this look pretty. All right, and so I have a script here. I haven't read it in a few days, so I'm gonna read it off the paper here. Let's do it. So anyone who has owned a plant or managed more than one garden knows how hard it can be to remember to water. For people with multiple plants in garden areas, it can be hard to track and give every plant the care that they need. Hologarden is an app that helps gardeners track plant growth and care while tending to multiple gardens at once. Let's take a look. Hologarden unifies all gardening data in one place. Here in the journal, you can see all of the gardens I'm taking care of now. We have the front yard, the veggie garden, and I even have a few plants here on my desk. Inside of each garden, we have all of our plants listed, and we can easily tell if they need water. Now, I just bought a new plant for my desk. In the top right corner, we can tap the Add Plant button to start tracking my new friend. We can give our plant a nickname, so we'll call him Timmy. And we can also set a birthday with a few taps. If we're not too sure what type of plant Timmy is, we can always tap Plant ID here and use the power of CoreML and machine learning to quickly identify many different types of plants. After that, we can go ahead and add our plant. And so let's close that. And again, this is a demo, so not everything's fully functional yet, but there you can see we have Timmy. Perfect. Now, Hologarden also features a set of powerful augmented reality tools in the Tools tab. So here in the Tools tab, you can see we have a few different tools like the ruler or the QR code scanner, and this would allow us to take measurement or scan a barcode all without ever leaving the app. We also have the light meter, which would allow us to determine exactly how much light is in this room and whether or not we need to move Timmy here outdoors. For outdoor plants, predicting when and where the sun will be is challenging because it changes with each season. In the weather tab, we can see exactly where the sun will be in a few hours. And of course, that part did not go through there. It missed, but basically, we can see exactly where the sun will be in a few hours, maximizing our plants' potential for fun in the sun. And so I really wanted you to see this part. So we will actually just close and reopen our demo here. and reopen the weather section. And there we go. So you can see there 12 to 1 to now. So very, very cool stuff in that we have this all integrated in one single app. There are a few sun tracking apps out there, but none of them are combined into a gardening app. So the fact that we have this journal, we have our AR tools, and we even have a weather section, that's all very, very cool stuff. And wasn't that easy to do, but again, it's not that hard either. So that's Hologarden. Basically, when the pandemic started, I sprouted more than 50 sunflowers before realizing how hard it can be to care for that many plants. I built Hologarden to make it easy to grow more and water less. Hologarden will be available later this spring. And of course, anyone here in this meetup is open to beta test as we roll out. So again, that's Hologarden. Thank you for watching that presentation, that quick demo. Definitely need a little bit more practice, but obviously it's still in development. So I can't wait to show you more. But again, thank you. And if you have any questions on that app, feel free to type them in the chat because we will be seeking investment for that very soon. All right, so next we'll hop into just navigating my website, and then we'll give a quick demo on building an app with ARKit because that's what I promised. So before we do that, I want to give you some resources. And before we do that, let's start with this form that I had some people answer at our last meetup. So in our last meetup, I had this 2-question survey, which again, it's never too late to respond to. So if you missed the survey, I'll post a link in the chat right now. Yeah. Survey, there we go. So yeah, definitely feel free to fill in that link, that survey. But basically, it's just a quick 2-question survey because I want to know what people are doing, what people have within this meetup. That way I can create better content for you guys in the future. So I wanted to go over the responses since we did have 10 responses. Again, really appreciate those responses. But yeah, looking at the numbers, what augmented reality capable devices do you own? And it looks like most people actually own a Pixel or Galaxy Android, which is very interesting to me because this always started off as an ARKit iOS focused meetup. But obviously we've been around for some years and it looks like more and more people have Pixels and Galaxies. So we'll definitely be trying to cover some of that content in the future. And then which augmented reality platforms do you wish you could learn about? And again, App Store, Play Store, neck and neck there. Microsoft Store, not too much interest in, but the Unity game engine, overwhelming support for that one. It seems like everyone wants to see that. And that probably goes in hand with the fact that a lot of people had Androids. So for sure, we'll be doing a Unity course very, very soon. Maybe even something more in depth, like maybe like 2 or 3 sessions on it. But I definitely wanted to go over these responses and let you know that I am listening to your feedback. I am taking this, to head and to heart and working on better sessions that focus on the things that you want to learn about and see. Oh, and it looks like more people are responding now, so that's why it keeps updating. Cool. So yeah, keep those answers coming in, and that will help me, again, tailor this content for the future. But that's our form there. Next, we have my website. So again, name of my business is Near Future Marketing. Our website, www.nearfuture.marketing. So once you get here on my website, you can click Augmented Reality Today, and that will bring you to our meetup page. So this is everything related to the meetup here. You can join the meetup here. So maybe you found our event from Eventbrite or LinkedIn or Facebook, wherever on the internet. This is a meetup. I do pay like $25 a month to continue this meetup. So please join the meetup. We really appreciate, all the members, and it's a community. It's more than 400 members. It's been growing for years. So I appreciate everyone who's joined and, give me a reason to continue paying that bill. Virtual events. So again, all of our upcoming events will be listed here. So here's today's event, and any free assets will be listed here in our free asset section. I don't think I've put anything in there today, but I will. I'm very bad at forgetting to do that until the last second. Our swag shop. Let's take a quick look through our swag shop really quickly because I'm always working on this. And again, it's a free meetup, so you can definitely support the meetup by purchasing swag, and it's really nice stuff. You know, I put my I stand by my product, so I have a lot of these things. I have this jacket in gray, great jacket, especially in San Francisco. This sweater here, I have this one in a few different colors. So I have the blue, I have the gray. Great sweater. The hat as well. I have it right here. So I have the hat. I have the recently got the phone case this week. I don't think I have it on at the moment, but I also have the phone case. Really exciting, really neat, and just, you know, clean. It's a clean way to rep the meetup and let people know that this does exist. So definitely check out our swag shop, because as I mentioned, I'm still adding new pants. I'm still adding new book bags. I'm always adding new stuff and new stickers all the time. Cool. And here's the sweatshirt I'm wearing today. It's limited edition AR today. So again, this is that logo. I don't know where the camera is, that I had turned into a 3D model with our upcoming game, Cardboard Soldiers. So just lots of cool swag that is directly related to the things I'm doing in my business, or, you know, just looks cool. Like this magic mug here, really cool. But that is our meetup page. So next, let's talk about some resources for learning ARKit, because you're probably sitting here like, all right, I sat through the first 30 or 40 minutes here and he still hasn't taught me how to get started. So we'll go to Google and we'll just basically Google ARKit, because I want to start on the most basic page. And here we have developer.apple.com/ARKit probably. And in here, this is just going to be basically their sales page to developers for AR. So it's a quick rundown of just like, look, you can recognize locations, and look, we have LiDAR scanners, and look, we have all these different tools for creating AR, like Reality Kit, which I did mention. And so we've done a course before on building iOS apps with ARKit and Reality Kit. I'll show you how to find that video later, because it's an hour and a half long. But definitely, you know, I have more content on this stuff. So don't think that just today's meetup is all I have for you. You can definitely go to our archives and see some past videos. But basically, what you'll need to get started with ARKit is you're going to need an Apple developer account. Once you have that developer account set up, you can come to one. You'll need Xcode from the App Store. So this is Xcode. You can look for Xcode in the App Store. And another way to do this is to click right here where it says SDKs and betas, which I'll need to sign in. I'll sign in with my fingerprint there. Okay, go. All right, there we go. So yeah, this is where you would come really if you're looking for beta stuff. So if you want to try things before they come out, I don't recommend that. You can come here and download that. But basically, the developer.apple site is what I was really trying to show you there, is just that documentation and session videos. These are really the buttons I wanted you to push, and even discussion forums. But documentation is going to be the actual documentation that teaches you, like, oh, here's what we have available, hand tracking, this and that. So as you go through this one here, you'll learn everything about the framework that you need to know, and it's kind of really organized in a very nice way. And there's sample projects as well. So choosing which feed to augment, managing a session's life cycle and tracking quality, content anchors. Again, this has grown over the years, so it's kind of hard to say where exactly to start, because it really depends on your amount of experience programming. So I would say start with, you know, our meetup. Start with the videos that I've created for you already. Because those will point you in a great direction. And then from there, you can come to things like this, creating an immersive AR experience with audio. You would click here, and this would be a sample project that you can actually download. You can see their code and see how things are put together, and you know, just learn a lot. Now, the documentation from Apple is really nice, but sometimes I have to say, you know, as a self-taught programmer, it's not the easiest for me to learn. So another thing I would recommend is this specific list on GitHub. So we'll just type in ARKit GitHub. And it's this one right here, this top list, this curious, awesome ARKit. This is a list that's been going for, as you can see, 4 years now. So literally the moment ARKit was invented, someone invented this project on GitHub, and it's been growing ever since. There's 79 contributors. But I highly recommend checking out this page because there's a lot of cool source code and tutorials that will teach you a lot. So you can see all of these projects here. I'll give you an example. Let's go with AR. Let's start with a ruler here. So this is an AR ruler, and you can see it just lets you point and measure from one feature point to the next. But again, that's something that you may have no clue how to do. And again, there's just so much free code that provides great examples already on the internet. So this specific list, I highly recommend because as you can see, it's a big list, lots of content here. And they even have a few apps that are actually on the App Store. So again, if you're looking for great examples, here you go. And then tutorials, they also have tutorials here at the bottom. So again, lots and lots and lots of content. I will post both of these links into our chat here. So we have our ARKit developer site. We'll post that. And then we have our, and yeah, we'll also cover that. We have our GitHub list here. Boom. So again, those two things I think will really help you from the technical side, because when it comes to, it's one thing to design an app, but when you actually go to code it and try to get your ideas out, the computer will say, sorry, you're completely wrong. That's not how this works. So again, I think these examples, which don't come from Apple, are also equally as useful. And then the last one, again, back from Apple. So we'll go back to developer.com. So again, at the very bottom of their ARKit page, we can click session videos, and that will open this section for AR/VR, which I think is, very interesting. I mean, as a developer who's been working on this, I know I always say this is that AR and VR are tied together like this. They're conjoined twins. So if AR grows, VR grows, and if VR grows, and AR grows. And it looks like, Apple has decided to place all of this content in the same place and organize it in the same way. So I think that's pretty interesting. But basically, this is the place to be. Like, this is where you can learn about advanced scene understanding in AR and, how the AI actually understands the room that it's looking at. Base tracking. How can we create base tracking apps that, are games where I can catch food in my mouth and stuff like that? What's new in RealityKit? So RealityKit is their other framework. It's built on top of ARKit, and it's supposed to make it easier to learn how to build AR. And so you can see what's new in there, like multiplayer and object occlusion. But again, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of content here. So I just think it's definitely worth checking out. Highly recommend this one here, prototyping for AR. So I'll just, again, copy that link because this shows you how you can prototype AR apps for free. So, using Keynote, using PowerPoint, using, the tools that you already have to create an AR prototype or a demo app. Very, very cool stuff. Highly recommend it. But yeah, those are the most basic links I would recommend. From here, now that I've shared some links, I think we can go ahead and hop into creating some type of sample app, which again, it won't be too complicated today because I didn't prep this demo. So we're doing this all on the fly. So let's check if there's any questions super quick. We can't see your screen, only the slides are showing. Oh, that sucks. I wish I saw that 6 minutes ago. Now on my screen, it looks like I'm sharing my entire desktop, so I'll assume that maybe that was just for a second, but I do apologize if you guys can't see my screen, so just in case, I will share it one more time. All right, so now you definitely should be able to see my screen. Let's go ahead and create an app. And maybe I'll turn off my camera so you can get a better view too. Get the full screen going. All right. So let's go back to Xcode. Awesome. So yeah, now I'm back and I'm unmuted. I accidentally hung up there, so that's embarrassing, but we're back. Let's go ahead and create a new project here. So we have let's start from the very, very beginning, just in case you missed that. So I opened Xcode. Once you've installed it from the App Store, you should be able to open it and sign in with your developer account. But we'll go to the top and we'll tap File, New, Project. And we're going to create a new augmented reality app. So we'll click here for augmented reality app under iOS. And we'll tap next. And let's give our app a name. So I have no idea what we're about to build. That's kind of funny, but let's just call it basic geometry. All right. And so you'll select your team, you'll select your organization identifier. That doesn't really matter. What's really important here is under content technology, you can click the drop down here. We have Reality Kit, Scene Kit, Sprite Kit, and Metal. So remember, Reality Kit, I said, is going to be the easiest, but again, that's a whole different lesson. Scene Kit is the actual game engine that's built by Apple for Apple devices. So, this is built to play normal 3D games, and that's what ARKit is actually built on top of. So this is what we'll be using to render our 3D content, and that's really all you need to know. For interface, we'll obviously have it on storyboard, and for language, we'll use Swift, which is Apple's programming language. So we'll tap next, and I'm going to create this on my training folder. You can do this in your desktop, wherever. Cool. And so now we've started working on our first app. So if you've never used Xcode before, then welcome. Wow, that's, this is a great time to use it for the first time. So I'll give you a very, very basic run through. Again, we have other lessons which can teach you a little bit more. But in Xcode, we have our project here. We have the files that are in our project. So we have like this folder, which has the same name as our project. And then we have like these files here, which have some code in them. So anything with a .swift is going to be a file that has code in it because that's the programming language. And as you can see, there is some programming words on this page, aka code. Next, we have the art.sc and assets folder here. This is where any 3D objects would be stored. So you can see we have this 3D ship that we get by default. Very nice, very nice. And then we also have the texture map that's applied to that ship. So clicking back into that ship, if we wanted to change the appearance here in the top right corner, we can switch over. This is called the attributes inspector, I believe, but we can go to the material inspector, and where it says properties, we can change the shading model. So if we wanted this to maybe be like super bright and not necessarily realistic looking, we can always change that. But we'll go back to physically based. And then we can also change the metalness and the texture. So right here where it has that texture map, we could change that to maybe just be red. Now we have a red airplane. Very cool. So next we have our storyboard. This is where you can visually design your app. So this is where you get that preview of what does my app look like? What are the components that are on screen? And this is a great way to build your app out and then link up those visual aspects to the code aspects. So we'll cover that. Again, this is like a crash course, and I don't want to spend too much time on this one. I just really wanted to drive how easy it is to get started with today's lesson and give you those good links that I gave you. In assets, this is where we store some additional images like our app icon. And then the rest of the stuff you don't really need to touch today. With ARKit apps specifically, there is something that is worth mentioning. So the reason we started with that augmented reality app template is because it gives us a lot of the things we need before we realize that we need them. So one of those being in our info.plist here, you always need to have a reason as to why your app needs to use the camera. So this is required by Apple. And again, because we use that template, it automatically added this to our plist. So right here, we can just say to do AR stuff, and we'll just leave it at that. When you release to the App Store, you want to be a little bit more descriptive. But for today's example, we're just going to put to do AR stuff right there and leave it at that. Now, Let's go to our view controller.swift here. And we're going to get rid of the junk that we don't need for today's lesson. So we'll start at line 73. So, the very second to last curly brace. So we'll even give this a space. One thing that I like to do is I like to put a slash at where the end of the page is, just so that, as we're programming, so if you put too many curly braces in here, you'll notice that you get an error and it'll say like, hey, you have an extraneous curly brace at the top level, and it'll tell you to remove. You'll click, oh, I just need to do that, fix. And you'll see there, it just took away my last curly brace. We don't want that because that curly brace wraps up all of the code with this curly brace. So this is the start and this is the finish. So what I like to do is put end of page beside the last curly brace. That way I never accidentally delete the last one and I can really narrow down where the issue is. So yeah, I would recommend putting end of page on line 75. And then from line 73 up to, so we're going to get rid of these three functions, and we're going to get rid of all of this green text right here. So from line 73 to line 49, we're going to highlight it and then delete it. And that's because, again, we just don't need it today. And then let's really quickly talk about how this app works. So let's run the app. We'll talk about how it works and then we'll run it because, we're already on this page and I don't want to overwhelm you with the back and forth. So I'm just kind of taking out the space from this and just making things a little bit smaller here. But we have basically three main functions. So view did load, view will appear, and view will disappear. And so these functions are called whenever your app loads and closes, basically. So view did load. This is called the first time your app ever loads. So you can see right here what we're doing is we're setting up a delegate, which don't think about it too much. Just know that this is important and we need to have done that. Then from there, it says show statistics. So do we want to show the FPS and timing stuff? We're actually going to delete this because we don't need to see how many frames per second, because let's pretend that we're releasing this app and you don't want that when you release your app. And then create a new scene. So this is the actual virtual world that you're loading into the real world. So you could set this to blank, but for the sake of our template app, Apple actually provided us with that ship that we turned red. And so that way you can just easily run our example app here and see the plane and know, wow, I'm already doing AR. So that's our view did load. Again, this is called whenever the view loads. And our view will appear. This is what happens when our view actually appears. So it's kind of hard to explain, but basically when you're first launching the app, view did load is called, and maybe even if you reset the app, but view will appear only gets called when you, and I got that reverse. So view did load loads that one time and then it never gets called again. View will appear shows up when the app actually appears, and also maybe if you reset the view or something like that. So what do I mean by that? I mean that once the app loads everything, it has the scene set up, and then when the view is actually visible for people to see it and touch it, then we actually run our configuration, being our AR world tracking configuration. So again, lots of technical terms, lots of code. You're probably still not too sure how this all links together. Basically, if we hover over this one here, we can hold the Option key and click this, and this will give you a full breakdown of what a world tracking configuration is. So again, that's the Option key on your Mac here. We'll hold that. And you can hover over, anything in Xcode and learn more about it. But for our AR world tracking configuration, you can learn about it, and we'll just read the basic definition. A configuration that monitors the iOS device's position and orientation while enabling you to augment the environment that's in front of the user. So it is basically tracking position and rotation, aka orientation. And through that, we're able to navigate our world in 3D and start putting digital objects in the scene. So let's go ahead and run our app now that we've talked your ear off about it. So we'll tap here for basic geometry. We'll click Casey's iPhone. Again, when you're testing ARKit apps, you do have to test on a real device. And then we'll go ahead and run this, and then you'll need to see my screen. So let's do that. And give me 1 second here. Perfect. So now you can see my screen. And let's run that again on Casey's iPhone. And again, any questions, feel free to type in the chat. Okay. All right, and it sounds like, yeah, some people were having a delay in the video. Again, apologize for that. Not too sure why today, but hopefully you can see my screen now. So basic geometry would like to access the camera. And you can see there it says to do AR stuff. So if you remember when we went to that info.plist, we added the words to do AR stuff there. And this is where that shows up. It's running the first time we've ever run the app. So we'll tap OK. And that gives the app permission to use the camera. And it will never ask for permission again because now it has permission. So now that we have that, you can see here, we have our red jet that we edited. And it's already in AR sticking halfway out my window. So very cool. Again, we didn't commit any code yet, but already we have a 3D model in AR with our live camera feed and lots of cool stuff that we can do as we branch out with that. All right, so let's go back to our code. Stop running our app. And so that's cool and all, but how do we actually get our content in there? How do we make something that we want to see? So let's start working on that. So again, this app is called Basic Geometry. So I was thinking we could just cover some basic geometry. And actually, rather than writing code, maybe we'll do something else. And we'll go here to our art.scn assets. And I'll just show you how to create a 3D file from scratch. So we'll right-click our art.scn art file. Let's just call it the art folder here. And we'll do the new file. And you'll see that that creates a new .scn file, which is a 3D file compatible with SceneKit. So you'll see here a lot of times you'll see SCN. That stands for scene, like SceneKit. And for this one, let's just call this cube. And then we'll do one more. And we'll call it tube. And then we'll do one more. And we'll call it pyramid. Awesome. So now we have 3 empty objects. They don't have anything but a camera inside of them. And we actually don't need the camera. So we can click the camera in our cube and delete it. And so again, here's that hierarchy that we talked about earlier. So we're click the file. If you don't see the scene graph here, you can click the window here, and that will pop out the scene graph. And that allows you to see all of the nodes that are inside of this 3D file. So we can have, multiple 3D models inside of one .scn file. All right, so now that we have a completely blank file for our cube.scn, we'll click the dot here, the plus at the top, and we'll just type in the words cube. And nothing will pop up, so maybe let's scroll, and that's because it's called a box. So let's just scroll instead. And you can see all of the geometric shapes that we have available. So we have our box, we have a sphere, we have a pyramid. So let's drag and drop in a box. Very nice. And so by default, it goes exactly where you drop it. So over here on our attributes inspector, we'll click the cube for the node inspector. And this allows us to edit the position and orientation of our cube. So you can see the position is not at 0, 0, 0. Which would be the complete center of our 3D file. So we'll do 0 here in the X, and 0 here in the Y, and 0 here in the Z. And you can see that that has moved our cube perfectly to our center. Now, if we click our cube here, as you know, we're in our node inspector here. But if we click over to the lines here for our attributes inspector, which again, all of this is kind of the attributes inspector, we can make some additional changes to our geometry. So let's go ahead and maybe do a segment count or chamfer radius. Let's do that one. So this would be how we can make like a rounded cube. So if we tap plus here, you'll see that our cube instantly gets a little bit more round, and we can increase that as much as we'd like all the way until it becomes a sphere. But of course, we want to keep this one to be a cube. So let's go back down to 0.02, 0.2, and that looks good. And then again, if we wanted to change the color of our cube, we can go here. We can change the diffuse to maybe blue. Now we have a nice blue cube. And again, it's a physically based shading model, so we already have some reflections going on as a result of that. Cool. Very basic, very simple. Next, let's do our pyramid. So again, we'll click our pyramid.scn. We'll click the camera in our scene graph and delete it. We'll click the plus in the top right corner. We will find the pyramid and drag and drop it in. And we will, again, center the position. So we'll click the cube. In position, we'll do 0, 0, 0. Now we have a perfectly centered pyramid. And again, let's change the color. So we'll click here, the material inspector, and we'll click yellow for the diffuse color of this one. And then also, let's play here. Let's maybe make it metallic, right? And then let's bring the roughness down to 0. And that way it's super duper shiny. So it's a very shiny object that has 0% roughness, almost like glass. Cool. And if we wanted to, we could also change the shape of this pyramid. So you can see it's perfectly pointy and tall. Maybe we want it to be a little bit more short and stout. So let's change this to 0.7 for the RY value. And you can see now it's gotten a little bit shorter. Perfect. Next, let's do our tube. So we'll click our tube.scn. We'll delete the camera. The top right, we'll add a button. And let's do the tube right here. Perfect. And so you can see this, it's like a circle with a hole in it. And again, we'll center it to 0, 0, 0. And again, we'll change the color. And let's change this one to be red. Perfect. Now, one more thing I want to show you that you can do here is you can create a new file, because I didn't realize this at first. It took a while until I actually realized this. And let's just call this combo. And so in this new file where we, again, have our camera that we're going to delete, this also is a .scn file. And what's cool about this is now that we have other files, we can drag them in. So with combo selected, we can take our cube, drag it in, and that creates a reference object. So you'll see here in our scene graph, it's called cube reference, and its position is over there, which I can't really see. So how would I focus in on this new thing that I dropped in, and just, how can we make sure it's the right thing? If you right click anywhere in the scene, you can click focus selection, and that will focus you on the object. And sometimes, since we're using a reference object, you may not be able to see it directly the first time. It just kind of happens sometimes randomly. I'm not too sure. So let's drag in the rest, and then we will click out and click back in. So we'll drag in our pyramid, and we'll drag in our tube. And so again, you can see that for some reason, all of these have cameras, which they shouldn't. So let's click back into our objects. And yeah, they didn't have cameras. And so again, sometimes things just act a little weird here. But for sure, we don't see anything, but for sure in our graph here, we have our cube, we have our pyramid, and we have our tube. So let's maybe just close this file, and then we'll just reopen it and see if those objects show up this time. And there they are. So you can see, like I said, sometimes it's just a little behind for some reason. But now we have our 3 objects. So if I right click and click focus selection, you can see we've created a 3D file with all 3 objects. So let's move these around and kind of organize them. Maybe we'll put this tube at 0, 0, 0, right? And then we'll raise it up a little bit, and we'll put the cube on top of it. And you don't always have to use the numbers. You can also use these bars here. So we can move it that way. We can move it up just like that. If you left click and drag, you can move the camera. So let's left click and drag over here, and then we'll move that. Just want to make this look like it's perfectly stacked on top of that one. And now let's grab this yellow pyramid and we'll drag it up. And same thing, we'll just drag it and make it look like it's stacked on top. And you can see it's kind of floating. So let's drag it over and drag it down. Perfect. So that looks really good. We have our 3 objects that we created as 3 separate files, and now we've combined them as one single file as combo.scene. So this is cool. So now that we've created our first file, let's go back to our code in our viewcontroller.swift. And we have our ship.scene as our scene, but I don't want it to go like that anymore. I want to really drive to you that you don't have to start like this. So we'll completely get rid of this line here that says create a new scene. We're going to wipe it away and just delete it like that. And right here where it says scene_view.scene equals scene, you should get an error now because we just deleted the scene. So we'll delete that, just that part that says scene. And we'll type in scene scene, and it should start to autocomplete. So again, autocomplete is where you start typing and it tries to guess what you're typing. You can do an S and a C and an N, and you should have scn scene right there. And that is a container for the node hierarchy and global properties that together form a displayable 3D scene. So this is your 3D world, basically. So we can double click scn scene. And then if you haven't programmed in Xcode before, you're probably thinking like, oh, great, I did it. And then now it's giving me an error. What it's saying here is that we need to initialize this object. Basically, we need to create the scene. It's one thing to say, oh, it's a scene. And it's another thing to say, oh, it's this scene. So to say it's this scene, we need to initialize it. And all we need to do to initialize anything is add these parentheses at the end, and that will fix our error. So perfect. Now we have our scene equal to scene. And then the next thing that we want to do is add our object to our existing scene. So how can we add the object that we have to our scene? So right here, under our scene_view.scene equals scn scene, where we created a blank scene. So again, this is just a blank scene. You won't see anything. If you want, I can run it super quick. Just that's always a good practice. Run things here and there to make sure that they still work. So I'm going to go ahead and run this app, and you should see it pop up here in a second. And so you won't see anything here, but that's the point, is that as long as this app runs, then we're in the money. So the app still works. That's great. So we'll hop back over to Xcode. And now under this line that says scene_view.scene, we'll type in scene_view.scene root node, which is going to be the root node of the scene. So this is the node that holds it all. And I can explain nodes here shortly. Add child node. And so basically we're adding an object to our 3D scene, and it's looking for that specific child, which will be of the type scn node or scene node. So we need a child here to pop in. So we'll leave that blank. And above this line, so we'll go back, we'll hit enter, and add a line. Let's create the object that we're going to add to our scene, which again is our combo.scene file. So we'll say let new node equal, and again, this could be anything. So you could say new object, you could say combination, doesn't really matter what you put after let. So we'll say let combo equal scn scene. So again, you want to type scn scene. And then this time you'll type the open parentheses, and you only use one of them because we want to find the exact one method that we want. Specifically, we want this named one here. And this is looking for a string, which is basically going to be some text. So it's looking for a string of text that tells it the name of our 3D model. So in here, we'll type parentheses, the colons, and we'll go ahead and type in our words. There are strings. So for us, it's going to be combo.scene. And again, I think if you watch some of our previous lessons, you can get a little bit more, because some of this really goes back to the basics of programming and whether or not you know what a string is. But basically, this is the name of our file that's over here in our folder, our art folder, as we are calling it now, because it's a mouthful. And so what we're doing is we're going to say, let this specific piece of data be equal to this specific file with this specific name. And then here we're going to add that specific piece of data to our scene's root node, so directly to our scene at the root level. Now, one thing to note here, again, as I mentioned, always run your app before you assume that it works. So let's run this because I know this code is wrong right now. And in fact, actually, there you go. You can see it's even telling me it's going to be wrong. So just give me 1 second here. I want to make sure this is going to work before I tell you to do it. Yeah, so I think what I normally do is I use a function to kind of wrap this stuff up. So I'm going to give you some free code here. Load model. So this is some code that I wrote. I'm using it in my apps currently, so you know it's a good code. And actually, that's not the exact one I want. So it's this one. Cool. So I'm going to paste this in the chat. Yeah, so that's in the chat. Hopefully it copies well, and if not, I can put it somewhere else. But basically, we want to take that function, that text that I just put, we're going to put it at the bottom of our page under our view will disappear right here. And this will allow us to load our models easily and convert them into scene nodes. So right here, let's scroll back up to the top. And we're going to say, instead of let combo equal all of this stuff, we're just now going to type in load model. And then we can type in the name of our model again. So again, that's going to be combo.sen. And now we can put in front of that, let combo equal load model.sen. So this is what we're going to do now, just because it makes things a lot easier for you. So basically, you would type in let combo equals load model path combo.sen. Now, one thing to remember here is that this looks like it's going to work, but if we try to run this app, it will immediately crash. And that's because we got the name of our path wrong. So we'll run the app super quick, and you can see it's going to crash without, hesitation. Like it's probably already crashed. Yeah, here we go. So you can see on this screen here, it crashed, and it told me exactly why. And it said, for this child, and it was trying to figure out something. If you look here on the bottom left side of the screen, you can see exactly what crashed, and it's that combo.scene string that we use. So what's wrong with it? Well, again, this is loading the path of the model. So really, we want to put exactly where this model is. So in front of combo, we'll type in art.scn assets / and that's because that's the name of the folder where everything is listed. So again, that's art.scn assets / combo.scen. And we're just going to load that model of combo.scene. So now if we run our app, run it again. This time what you'll get is our app loaded, right? And look at that. Wow, it's really, really big. But you can see our combined file right there floating above my head. So really cool because we created that and it's floating right there without too much code. Now, how can we branch this out and do a little bit more? I think, for the sake of time, what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and create an array, and we'll create some type of timer or something like that to do something after a certain amount of time. So let me show you what that looks like. So we'll say let objects equal, just like that, to those bars. And this is basically creating an array. And so what we want to do is put different types of data in this. So think of these two bars here as a collection of data. So you could think of an array as, let's say, a collection of numbers, a collection of colors. Just think of it as a box with some items inside. So for our objects, we're going to put strings inside. And again, strings are text for those people who don't know what strings are. But we'll put in the names of our models. So we'll put in pyramid.scn. We'll put in cube.scn. And we'll put in our tube.scn. Perfect. So now we have 3 objects. And what we can do is when we load our scene, rather than that, let's do something else here. Touch one, let's see. Yeah, so again, I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for the people who don't program. So we will just go ahead and grab this one here. Yeah, okay. Actually, that's going to be a little bit. Yeah, so again, for the sake of time, maybe we'll do something differently. What I just really wanted to show you is how we can start to load these things without directly typing them in. And so what we would do here is rather than loading combo, we can just try to think of the best place to put this. Let's go to our storyboard here. We'll type in our main.storyboard and we'll click the plus button at the top here. And then we're going to type in button, which should also be right here, but you can type in button or you can drag it from right here and just drag it in. And so we're going to create a button that can do things when we push the button. So first, let's change the text on our button. So under title, we'll change this to tap me. And then for our button, we maybe want to drag it down to the bottom of our screen here. One design thing I would always recommend is going to be also making this a full screen app. So basically, I can show you how we can set this to take up the full space of the screen. What you would want to do is literally just drag this to the bottom of the screen. And then at the top here, or actually you don't even need to do that. You can just click the 4 constraints here button, the square with the 4 plus bars around it. And we're going to add some constraints. So we'll say 0 here and click the little I-beam, 0, 0, and 0. And then down here, we'll add 4 constraints. And this just basically guarantees that the screen will always be clipped to the edge of the screen. So the AR view that we have will always be linked to the edge of the screen. But again, that's just a small touch I wanted to show you. What we're really focused on here is linking up our button to our code. So we'll click the dots here, the lines, and click Assistant. And bear with me here. I know this is a lot, but we'll hold the Control key. And from our button that says Tap Me, you can use the one that's here, or I would recommend the one that's in our graph. We'll hold Control and drag this over right above our scene view. And we're going to give this button the name in our code called Tap Me button. Perfect. And then we're going to drag it over one more time. So again, hold Control, click your button, drag it over. And this time we'll put it right under our objects. And let's create an action. And we'll just say button tapped. Okay, cool. So now we have a button that we can easily tap and make things happen within our 3D world. So let's go back to our view controller.swift. And let's write a tiny bit of code and wrap things up here. So in the button that we created, the button tapped function here, we'll say let new object equal objects, oops. And then we'll put the bars here and we'll put a 0 in there. And so what we're saying here is let our new object be equal to the first item in our array of objects, which if you remember, we have our objects array here, and pyramid.scn is the first object. So you would think that we would put 1 here to access the first object, but because it's an array-based index, we always start with 0. So we're going to use objects 0 here. And so next, what we're going to do is above let new object, let's type in let number. Oh, actually, sorry, I'm not going to type it here. We're going to type it here under objects. We'll say let, var, so var, because we want to change this number. So you'll use let for things that never change, like our objects are a set number of objects. We don't need to change it, but our number, we're going to update each time we push the button. So we'll call this let current value. Let's do that. Current value equal 0. And so that way it's 0 by default, but we definitely want to do some math and change that number over time. So right here, back in our let new object equal object 0, we can change this from 0 to current value, because again, current value is equal to 0. And as it grows, it will allow us to access more items in our array. Perfect. Under that, now we can do current value. So we'll type current value again, and we'll do plus equals 1. And so that means each time we tap our button, new object will be set to the object based on the current value. And then we'll also add a number to our current value. That way, each time we do this, we're going to get a different result. And so under that, let's say if current value greater than or equal to 3, current value equals 0. So basically, we know we only have 3 things. So if our value gets to 3 or higher, it's going to create an error. It's going to crash the app. So we need to add this safety check that basically says, hey, is our value greater than or equal to 3? Because if it is, let's just start over. And that way we don't get a crash. So we have that, and then let's go ahead and type in else if, and we'll put the top part in there. So we'll cut. And again, let me just slow down and do that a little bit slower. So I have my current value plus equals 1. We're cutting that, and we're pasting it in the else if part of our statement. So this is an else if statement. So if our current value is greater than or equal to 3, set it 0. Else, we'll just do else. We want to basically set that value to an additional number that's higher than the last value. So that's how our button works at the moment. And then the last thing that we'll want to do is go ahead and let's say scene view dot scene dot root node dot add child node, and again we're going to need an object to load in there, so we'll leave that there for now so you can remember that we're putting something in there. And let's create an object to put inside of there, because again this new object returns a string, so it's going to return some text, but we need to actually load a model and attach it to our scene. So we'll say load model. Actually, let's do one more thing here. Let's do one more thing just to make this a little bit cooler. So under our current value, we'll type in var, and we'll say current model. And we'll equal this to a string. And by default, let's just set it up to be our cube.scn. Let's do combo, actually. So combo.scn. And that way we have something that loads by default, just in case, it loads when we didn't mean for it to load. All right, so we have now our objects, we have our current value, we have our current model, and we're attaching them to our scene. So what we're going to do next is under our else statement, now once we've added something to that, we would want to go ahead and copy this let new object. And let's paste that in there in our else part of our statement. Next, we want to basically load a model based on our new object. So we'll do load model, And again, remember our path has to include the folder. So we'll do our string, we'll do art.scn assets, we'll do a slash, and then we'll do another backslash. So we have two different backslashes here, and we'll do these parentheses. So we're going to do a / like that, because that's, going with the folder path. And you're going to do a backward slash and then two parentheses like this, these open braces like that. And basically that allows us to reference a piece of data that may not necessarily be a string. So something that's like a number can then be converted into a string. But for us, we actually just want to put our new object in. So we'll go ahead and just type in new object, and that will wrap it all up as one sentence. So when we load our model, it will load art.scn assets / whatever word came from our new objects when we updated our value. So we're getting there. So right now we've figured out how to load our model. In front of our model, let's put let new model equals perfect. And so now what we have is our let new model loading a model based on the object, which is pulling a current value that gets adjusted each time we push this button. So the last thing to do is to attach our new model to our scene. And again, I wrote this inside of here, so it might be better to take this .add child node and cut it and then paste it inside of our else statement as well. And we'll just type in new model here. Okay. Again, I didn't plan this demo today. I do apologize for that, but I've had a long 2 weeks working with Apple, so I didn't really get more than 24 hours to plan this meetup, but this should work. So what we have going on here is every time our button is tapped, we're updating the value. And then from there, we are going ahead and loading a model based on that value. And then we're attaching that model to our scene. So I don't think we need to do too much else to at least demonstrate this. So let's go ahead and run the app. And again, I think QuickTime closed. So let's open it up in a way that you can see it. And after that, we will be done for today's meetup. Today's was a little longer than normal, but again, it's a lot of content to cover. So go ahead and put this in full screen and let's run our app. Play. All right, so we'll give this a second to load. I think it's on this screen here. And again, any last questions, feel free to type them in our chat. Oh, it keeps trying to run to my iPad. Probably not too useful. Okay, here we go. So here's our app. We have our combo. And of course, our button is nowhere to be found. It must have gotten moved a little bit. So let's just really quickly adjust the position of our button. Go to main.storyboard. And you remember I have that tap me button here. Let's just move it to the middle of the screen. That way we know that it's there. And if you're not too sure, let's just run that here. And then I can show you one more thing if it doesn't show up after that. All right, so perfect. Now we have our button. Now we have our scene. And if we hit the tap me button, it will load our model. And it looks like we might have gotten an error. Let's see what the error was. And the error is I typed here. So again, you can see it got an error and it says the path right here. And you can see that it looks really close, but I actually forgot an S in the assets. So we'll go back and right here, we just need to add an S to our SCN assets. And then for our model that we start off with, rather than loading a model, I'm going to load a blank scene. So I just want to point out that you can do that in case you're not too sure that you can do that. So what we'll do here is when we set our scene, or instead of adding this to our scene, we'll just comment this out and only use the new models that we have. All right. Perfect. So we have our Tap Me button. We have a completely blank world. So if I hit Tap Me, we get it's really big, but we get our cube there. Perfect. And so if I hit Tap Me again, we'll stay inside of our cube. If I hit Tap Me again, now you can see we have our cylinder. And again, it's using the exact same position, so it looks like it's inside of the cube. But they are here. They're just really, really big. And if we hit Tap Me one more time, we might have gotten an error, which again could just simply be due to a typo. And yeah, I believe it was. But you get the idea. This is just really some really, really basic introduction course stuff. I think for our next lesson, we won't do any slides. We're going to do a lesson where we just completely build an app from start to scratch, something a little bit more useful. But I just wanted to get everyone's mind and their juices flowing about the patterns that go behind building an AR app, which is code, importing assets like 3D models, and working on your storyboard and figuring out where all the buttons go. That's really all there is to creating AR. Other than that, it comes back to you just prototyping and just creating ideas and sketching things and taking time to really figure out what you're trying to make. So I hope you found this session useful. Again, the recording will be posted a little bit later. Again, this was a pretty long one, so I do appreciate everyone who stayed with me this long. If you have any more questions, please go ahead and type them into our chat right now. One more nugget of gold I'll give you before we go would be the human interface guidelines for iOS. As I mentioned, I just spent 2 weeks working with Apple, and it's something that they referenced a lot when I asked them, like, well, what about this design and what about that design? This stuff is legit. It's lots of thought goes into the human interface guidelines. So I'll post this here in our chat. But you can check out this link, and it really doesn't just apply to AR. It applies to any type of app you're making, whether that's a TV app, a watch app, iOS, whatever. And then it's also organized by technology. So if you scroll down on this page, you'll see technologies, accessibility, CarPlay, glyphs, HomeKit, augmented reality. You click into here, and this is going to give you all the guidelines that are really, really important for designing AR apps. And I really wish I had posted this in the beginning of the chat, but this is really one of those things that you need when you're designing AR, because this stuff is experimental, but companies like Apple have definitely made a lot of progress in the research area, and they can give you some great guidelines for controlling user interaction and user experience in an augmented reality based experience. So last link, post it in the chat. That's it for me today. It was an hour and 40 minutes of content, so I really hope you enjoyed. Our next meetup will probably be in about 2 weeks. My birthday is March 25th, which means that would be the birthday of this meetup as well. So maybe we'll do something around then as well. So I would expect to have, 2, maybe even 3 events next month. I'm really excited to bring more and more content. Again, it's just me doing this. So if you'd like to volunteer and help me out, I would really appreciate it. Just reach out to my email. You can do volunteer@nearfuture.marketing. Again, would really appreciate that. And there's definitely some perks that come to, helping me out with this. So that's it from me. I'll give it 1 or 2 more minutes. But again, thank you all for joining me. Really do appreciate you. Can't wait to give you more. And don't forget to vote on that survey link. Really appreciate the feedback there. But I don't see any more questions, so I think we can wrap it up. Enjoy your Sunday. Thank you, and I will see you next time. Take care.